All right, as we do every Wednesday at 5:20, Ryan Rothstein's kind enough to join us on Twitter at WiseRye. Sports Radio WIP on-air host, Visa and live host, Philadelphia City Cast, presented by Bet Rivers. Give him a follow on Twitter, kind enough to join us in his weekly spot on a Wednesday. What's going on, pal?
How we doing, Q?
I'm doing very well, and yourself?
I'm doing excellent, baby. What do we got on tap?
Well, I want to get your thoughts first on Wild Card Weekend. Any shocking surprises? I mean, what'd you think of that 49er game over that 49er win over the Giants? Not the Giants, I'm sorry, over the Dallas Cowboys.
We can call them the Giants if you want.
Probably can.
I don't know. I mean, that was probably the least surprising, right? Like, it's everyone in the world seemed to be on San Francisco. That was probably the only thing that really made me a little bit nervous, and some others that I spoke with. It's like, well, the whole world's taking San Fran here. I don't know. Is Dallas really about to lose at home? And that's exactly what happened. I think the ending's getting a little bit overblown, but not too much competitive games, really. And hopefully that changes here.
Well, look at the 7 seeds, right? Pittsburgh and the Eagles get waxed. What do you think? You think that the ending? I think the ending's going to be talked about for a long time, man. I really do.
I do too. Why, right? Like, I don't know. I just think Dallas. It depends how we're talking about it. I don't know. I just think, why? Yeah, why did Dak run there? Why did they maybe call a run, or why did he decide to run? But there's no controversial ending. Like, I thought Dallas lost that game well before that point.
Agree. And by the way, slip of the tongue there, mentioned the Giants because I just saw Ralph Acciano tweet it. The Giants put in a request to interview Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn for the head coaching job, despite not having a GM. The understanding is they saw interest others had in Quinn and wanted to get in the game. See, that would scare the bejeebuses out of me. Like, all of a sudden, because the kid down the street has a nice little shiny green bike, all of a sudden my kids are going to go run out and say they want a bike too because this kid has them. Like, this is where we're at with the friggin' Giants. I mean, enough is enough.
I just don't understand the obsession over Dan Quinn.
Either do I.
I mean, what? He's been in Dallas for 1 year. We know what he's done as a head coach. He has the right players on defense in Dallas. I mean, fine, give him some credit, but maybe he's just a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and he's not a good head coach, which...
Right.
Yep. How about this stat? CBS tweeted out, my squad, the Rams, right? East Coast time, Eastern time zone, 12-3, 29 points per game, and they only give up 19. How about the Rams the other night against Arizona? And don't give me Kyler Murray stunk up the joint. That's the reason they won. Give credit where credit is due, and praise Matthew Stafford.
Well, I mean, do I get to answer this, or are you just going to answer it? How's this working here? I mean, you tell me. It's your show. I don't want to step on toes. If you want to ask yourself the questions, you can. No, listen, the Rams look great. I didn't know they're your team now. We'll have to talk about that maybe a little bit more at another time. But, listen, the Rams look really good, and that's been half of their year. I think when they're running and they're, running well, I should say, they look unbelievable, and when they don't, they're not just cold, they're ice cold. When they're hot, they're scorching hot. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Kyler Murray's performance and Arizona's performance is a factor. I'm not going to point to that as the reason. We'll see. We'll see what the Rams are able to do here now. That was a nice win, a big win, dominating win. The defense looked good. Outside of Arizona helping them out, I still think the defense looked good. So, what do you think about them and their chances in Tampa this week?
I'm sorry, you're funny. You're making me laugh how you just kind of put me in my place. I'm just laughing about that. I think right now, I like the total. I like playing the total, 48.5. As much as I like Stafford, as you know, this is your classic game where I'm going to look at quarterback to quarterback and who do I trust more, and that's Brady. Yeah. And the weather's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be like 73 degrees. Here's my issue, though. The other night, the Arizona game, for everyone that talks so glowingly about Cliff Kingsbury, how do you not understand that Ertz on a linebacker is a mismatch, and they didn't even go to him? I mean, I have a problem with that, right? And then I can sit there and say the same thing about Sirianni in a game that we knew they weren't going to win. We were hoping they'd cover. they tried to force feed the ball to Goddard, and then they tried to force feed the ball to Smith. Like, these coaches, they get in, either they have these blocks, mental blocks, or they get way too set in their ways. And I say it to say this. Arians is not that type of head coach, so the Rams benefited from that. You know, Tampa Bay benefited from that. Arians is not that kind of guy. McVay is more that, I'm going to be a little more aggressive. You know, you might see the fake field goal. You might see the fake punt. You might see something tricky come out, and I think this will be a track meet type of game. I don't know yet if I'm going to play Tampa on the money line, but I do think I'm actually going to play the over.
Okay. I mean, the under has to be the enticing play. For all the reasons that you mentioned, I certainly wouldn't disagree with that. I'm leaning Tampa as well. You know, I will say this. I think the Rams' weapons are better. But, yeah, I'm giving the edge by far to Tom Brady mixed in with Bruce Arians and how they've been running that ship there, pun intended, down in Tampa. So, yeah, I'm going with Tampa. I mean, to your point about the coaches like Arizona, Kingsbury, Sirianni, I think you also got to look at their quarterbacks, right? Like, I'm not letting the coaches off the hook, but Brady is the GOAT at distributing the ball from the quarterback position. Stafford does it well, and that's also McVay's mindset. So it's not a coincidence that these coaches that we question also have, I think, a quarterback in question.
No, it's a fair point. By the way, what's your lean towards the under? You don't think this is a 27-24 type of game?
Tampa, LA?
Yeah.
I'm staying away from the total.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I would probably lean over, but I certainly could see this game maybe being a little bit tighter than people thought. Tampa's offense against Philly, like, Philly was really bad. I'm not taking anything away from Tampa, but I'm curious to see how they perform now against LA, who has a really good defense, and they have a high-powered offense. Tampa they didn't scare me. I just thought it was, all right, they're the better team, and Philly played bad. But now how do they stack up against a team like L.A. and the rest of the teams moving forward?
Yeah, legit points, because I think even I thought the mindset was, hey, you might get Tampa prime for the pick and at least cover that number, which unfortunately they didn't. That first game, Cincinnati and the Titans, the line is 3.5. We've been talking about this game nonstop, and I threw it out there. You know, there seems to be this thought that Tampa Bay, the Titans are a very weak number one seed. I give him a puncher's chance, especially if Derrick Henry can go. And if he's practicing and he's going to go, I don't care if he's coming off injury. You're running him to the ground 25 plus 30 times. Is this a look but don't touch game, or what side are you leaning here, Cincinnati or the Titans?
I like the Titans, and since he's been a great story, but people are now jumping on this Joe Burrow bandwagon like, you know, they're about to win a couple more playoff games, or people wouldn't be surprised if they win this one. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one either, but I also maybe I just feel like the Titans are getting a little bit too overlooked and a little bit too disrespected as a one seed. Yeah, they're not the most dominant one seed we've seen in the history of the sport, but they're at home. They've had an extra week off. They're going to get Derrick Henry back, it seems like, as you sort of pointed to. So I'm going with Tennessee to win and cover this number.
I like it at 3.5. I like Tennessee. I've talked about it for a while now. They've been good to me in the playoffs over the years, too, with some really nice upsets and money line hits. And you mentioned Cincinnati. I was going to say, is this your case of recency bias, right? First time in
a little bit.
Yeah, and then beating the Raiders. Yeah. I think so. I think it's pretty performed.
Yeah.
49ers and the Packers. Green Bay's laying 6. And again, we talk about quarterback to quarterback. Garoppolo's had some injuries. He's a little all over the place. He's always good. Garoppolo's always good. I'm sorry. Garoppolo's always good for that one bad interception. Green Bay is laying 6 in this one. They're rested. They have the bye. They got to figure out a way. Can we just shut down that ground game, Mitchell and Samuel? I don't think this is a blowout. I'm hearing a lot of people think this is the one game that's going to be a blowout. I don't know, man. I've been talking about the 49ers for a while now. If they were going to get in, they would be a team that was going to be a tough out. We saw them go on the road and beat Dallas. Do you like the 49ers with the points here, or are you going with the Packers?
This is a tough one. This is a really tough one. I'm not going with San Fran, though. I probably lean Packers here. Listen, San Francisco, they have talent everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Like, they're stacked, and I love how they're coached. I love their play calling. But I just have to go with Aaron Rodgers, the NFL MVP, at Lambeau Field on a week's rest. I just think they're going to be able to pull away. Maybe it's close for the majority, but I think at the end of the day, I have to put my money with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers at home covering the number.
You see like a 24-13, 24-16 type of game?
Yeah, I think that could make sense. Packers up by maybe a field goal. They tack one on late to get the cover. However it plays out. I can't side with San Francisco as sharp as they've looked here down the stretch, and especially against Dallas. I go with Green Bay.
I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
He can be 20 of 25 for 288, and then all of a sudden, second to last drive of the game, he turns around and he throws a horrible pick. I mean, it's just nerve-wracking, right? Final game on the docket, 6:30 window CBS. Buffalo against Kansas City, which is in essence, here's your AFC Championship, right? I mean, you got the revenge factor here. You got the Chiefs rolling. They beat up a bad Pittsburgh team, and then you got Buffalo absolutely waxing New England. We were all over. I was all over the Buffalo Bills in that game. This line right now, bet down. It's now Kansas City 1.5. I don't know. What is this line telling you?
It's well priced. I also think it's telling me that there's a little bit of that recency bias towards Buffalo. And I like Buffalo. I like Josh Allen. I like them coming into this postseason playoff bracket. And I still do, but once again, sort of similar to my reasoning behind Packers 49ers, I'm going Chiefs, man. I just think, I'm not going to bet on the Bills in an essential pick 'em to go into Arrowhead Stadium and beat that team outright. The Chiefs looked unbelievable. I know it was against the Steelers, but man, they got talent everywhere. Good luck. Good luck, Buffalo.
That Pittsburgh game. That Pittsburgh game. You and I went the opposite direction. You like Pittsburgh with the points in that game.
I did. I was very wrong. That was a just situation. Maybe I overanalyzed. That's 12, 13 points. I was just going to take it and just fading everyone. I'll ride with Tomlin and Big Ben to maybe surprise everyone and at least find a way to backdoor cover it. But they were never in that game after that 7-0 lead.
No, they weren't. That game was over. And you saw that Roethlisberger. He shot. I mean, he could not get the ball down the field to save his life. 5:30 on a Wednesday edition of Back Your Play. Rich Quinones here, AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Ryan Rothstein joins us his weekly spot every Wednesday at Wise Rise Sports Radio WIP. On our host, VSiN Live host, Philadelphia CityCast, presented by Bet Rivers. And by the way, the new episode is out as well. Not the Will Hill. Join a wildcard weekend recap. First look at the divisional round wagering menu as well. And then you got some NBA Futures MVP. Let's switch gears a little bit to the NBA for a moment. And you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, right? What are they laying? 12.5 tonight. I mean, you're taking on one of the worst teams in the NBA who's only won 8 games, but 6 of them have come on the road. Is this a strong Sixers play for this evening?
I don't know about a strong one. They've looked a lot better. And obviously Joel Embiid, I mean, I talked about his MVP odds like a week and a half ago at 40-1. Now he's in the top 5, down to 12-1.
Wow.
So that's something I've talked a lot about. I grabbed him at 50-1 about 2.5 weeks ago. So if he continues to play like this, I would certainly advise taking them at home against an atrocious team. But NBA, that's too many points for me to scream and shout, lay it right now.
What is your sense of what's going on with the Sixers as a whole? Because you've got so many conflicting reports. I saw Pompey just reported that Sacramento considered packaging Buddy Hield, 2 other players, I think, including Harrison Barnes, 2 first-round picks for Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Matisse Thybulle. Quote, however, the source said the Sixers aren't interested in that package. I mean, where are you at the point where, you're not going to get back what you think you're going to get back for Ben Simmons, and maybe message hasn't resonated with Morey yet? Or, you know what, I've waited this long, let's hold out a little more and see what we can get for him?
I think now, you just mentioned, Tobias Harris. I think at this point, Daryl Morey has upped his offering to the point where he's saying, who wants Tobias and Ben? And maybe you get a third team in there, because I don't know who the hell wants to take on Tobias, his contract, and Ben in his contract, but God bless whoever would. So maybe you get a third or fourth team in there, but trade Tobias, trade Ben. If you have to trade Thibault and whoever else, you do it, especially if you're getting a top-tier player back. But I don't think Morey's budged. I think Morey wants what he wants in return, and Ben's willing to sit out the entire season if they don't make that trade happen. It's just I don't hold any weight, Q, into these tweets and new articles written and new reports being thrown out there, because it's just diluted. Like we see them 2-3 times a day,
right?
And we don't get any update. It's just these writers, and I'm not crushing the writers. We know a lot of them. We're friendly with a lot of them. Knowledgeable, insightful, credible. But a lot of them are just posting these articles because they know it's going to get clicks, and they hear one or two things from a credible source that's just hearsay, and that's that. Like I don't hold any weight into these reports.
No, I agree with you. Do you think Morey is kind of heading down this slope of becoming public enemy number one in Philly?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair, because this is probably, he's being the biggest jackass in the history of the NBA, and we're going to make Daryl Morey public enemy number one.
Right.
No one could have foreseen this, right? You could say he could have maybe pulled the trigger last spring or this time last year. You're probably right, but I'm not going to hold that against him. So, yeah, if the trade deadline comes and goes and this is still where we're at, the Daryl Morey criticism is going to get louder.
Yeah, I agree with you. Will we be hearing you tonight at 6:15 or no?
No, not on with Danny tonight. So just give me a follow on Twitter. Maybe later this week or early next week I'll be back on Rush Hour. All
right. I'm enjoying your sarcastic tweets. I was actually just scrolling down your feed with a couple things.
Thank you. I'm glad someone gets the sarcasm.
Yeah, well, that's what we do, right? Always appreciate you, pal. Good luck with the games this weekend.
Thanks, you. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Our guy, Ryan Rothstein. Good stuff on follow on Twitter, @WiseRye as well. And I tweeted this out and got hammered for it, talking about Morey being public enemy number one in Philadelphia. All right, we'll recap. We'll reset 5:30.